Hey, what's up? Zach here, and today I have the Mizuno Wave Exceed Tour 5, and this is one I was pretty interested to check out because the Wave Exceed Tour 4 got a ton of hype back when it came out, and I'm kind of looking to see if the 5s may have built on the Tour 4s, kind of see what's different and what's more the same. And a big thanks to Tennis Point USA for sending me this model for review. However, like always, they have no editorial control. All the opinions are still my own. However, if you do want to get a pair of these or any other tennis shoe, make sure you check out my link in the description. It definitely helps the channel a lot. All right, let's get into them. The one thing I really like about the Mizuno tennis line of shoes is that their uppers are mostly polyurethane, but they're also pretty light and breathable, kind of unlike the Asics Court FF2, which is also all polyurethane, but it can kind of hug your foot a little bit in there. Whereas on the Tour 5s, whole bed of polyurethane from the midfoot all the way to the forefoot, so incredibly durable. I mean, if you look at the upper durability test, the Dremel 10-second highest grit sandpaper, I mean, barely a scuff on this stuff. And if you look at all the breathing channels through it, the shoe does stay really light and breathable in the uppers. You really never feel like you're overheating in these. And that's something that they've kind of really cracked the code to, is keeping an upper really durable for a slider, especially on hard court, but also pretty malleable and pretty breathable. But speaking of being really malleable, if you look at the tongue on the Wave Exceed Tour 5s, you notice it actually is pretty short. It doesn't come up really high on your ankle. So the one thing about the tongue is because it does sit so low, you definitely get a lot more degrees of freedom in your motion. So dorsiflexion and plantar flexion going up and down is really easy in this shoe. It really feels really freeing. However, just the one thing, those laces are going to dig in a little bit more until the shoe breaks in and your foot sits deeper in the shoe. Just kind of watch out for that if you have a really high arch. But just remember, on the flip side of all that motion does come a tad more instability. Now, they have kind of made up a little bit by making the heel counter really high, kind of like the Nike GP Turbo. However, right here, this is right where your ankle ligaments sit. Right here is the one that you'd most commonly sprain. That's kind of where it sits in your ankle. So just remember, if you are kind of a chronic ankle sprainer or have a little more instability, this tongue and this setup here in the ankle collar is not going to give you the most stable setup. When I first took these out of the box, I was really hoping that they would beef up the shank from the Tour 4s, maybe put something in the midsole or something that rides right under your arch. However, when I tore them open, it is kind of the same setup as the Tour 4. It's just that real kind of small energy frame that goes through. I'm not really sure what this little accordion does. I think it's meant to make the shoe bend a little bit easier when you're trying to push off. However, it just does not give a ton of support. You can see here, I mean, it's just flopping all over the place. Now, the entire bed of the midsole is Mizuno energy foam, which is fine. It's pretty unforgiving. It's pretty rock hard. However, that's what's giving you most of the structure to the midsole. Now, the midsole is also incredibly light. So if you are someone that likes a really light shoe, this is what you're going to get. They're just not going to give you a ton of pop or performance out of that because it's mostly foam holding the shoe up. And if you look at the jump height test, only 28 centimeters, which is almost just as good as I do barefoot nowadays. I think the only reason I got that high is because I've been working on my jump heights for some more of my basketball videos. And the reason is just because there's no cantilever, there's no rigid beam, so someone heavy like me, like I said, can just plow right through this shoe, and it's just not giving me any energy in return. In contrast to the midsole though, the outsole on the Wave Exceed Tour 5s is one of my favorites on the market. As you can see, it's more of this serrated kind of all-weather or rain tire type pattern with one big tread channel going right through it just to give a little bit more airflow for sliding on a hard court. Now, this serrated pattern is chunky in some places and thin in others, which means it's going to give just an incredible grip, especially on a hard court. And with the rubber being so hard and so durable, I mean, the durometer on these was off the charts at 17.7, which is just super high. You're going to get a lot of durability in these, even just kind of backing that up with the durability test on the outsole with 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper. And you can barely tell that I even did anything to this rubber. But also, you know, when you put this rubber on the court, it also feels like it has some tack to it. So you're actually feeling the ground really well in these. Plus all the air channels you can see going through it with that green foam underneath. Your feet just kind of really feel the ground on these. You're kind of prowling on the ground like a panther in them. And so with the outsole tread of these, the grip you just get and the feeling on the court is really second to none. Even if you look at the suicide test or shuttle test, really 14.71 seconds in a shoe that gives zero push-off force just shows how well this shoe takes corners, how well it grips, and just how easily it floats through the air just because of how light the shoe is. Now getting into the fit of the Tour 5s, narrow and medium width foot players, I mean, these are kind of like a dream come true. They're really long and slender shoes, so you really kind of hug those narrow medium feet. If you are a 2E, actually my left side did not have any problems in my normal size. I think if you are a 2E and just want a little bit of room, you can go up that half size, and if you are above a 2E, I'd probably go up a full size. Just watch out for that because these shoes just run a hair long. If you are above that 2E, you just might want to look somewhere else. The one thing I would watch out for though in terms of fit is if you are a very flat-footed player, have painful tendonitis, you might want to look somewhere else. Or if you are going to buy these, make sure you put a pretty rigid orthotic in these. If you're somebody with a little bit more of a higher arched foot, you probably will need something, a little bit of padding underneath the forefoot and orthotic in there. So really anything outside of the normal kind of just standard neutral foot, you probably should throw an orthotic in these if you're going to buy them, just because the foam and the shank in this just does not offer a ton of support. This is more of a performance shoe, which we'll kind of get to in a second. And so speaking of playability, I think the Tour 5s are engineered for pretty specific types of players. Lightweight players who want to go really fast, be able to grip on corners and slide on a hard court without burning through treads or their uppers. These do have a Outsole durability guarantee on them, which is a really nice option, especially in a really light shoe. The thing is, you're just not going to get a lot of support otherwise. So if you're bringing an orthotic into the shoe, that's going to help out a lot, but just intrinsically the shoe is not going to give a lot. It's just so lightweight. So somebody that wants a really, really lightweight shoe and who also is pretty lightweight, that's not going to put a ton of force into the shoe, these are going to do tremendous for. I mean, they will give you a ton, I mean a ton of speed if you can kind of bring that to the table. They're also going to give a ton of durability and just a ton of tactile feel on the court. So if you're somebody that's retrieving on the baseline side to side and you pride yourself on speed and getting to balls, then these are really going to give you a good assist because you're going to be able to plant, pivot, move the other direction really fast. They're also going to give you a tremendous amount of tack, and if you're sliding a lot, just all that polyurethane in the upper is going to give you a really nice durability profile. And if you're someone that's playing outdoors in the summertime when it gets really, really hot and still wants something a little bit more durable, because these breathe exceptionally well and they're really durable, I think you also might have a really good shoe in here. Now, the one thing is, me being the, let's say, big bone Midwestern boy wearing these shoes right now, after about an hour and a half on court, my feet are starting to feel a little bit because I'm just carrying around more weight. Somebody lighter than me probably isn't going to have that issue. And so with that being said, I think like the Solution Speed FF2, these are actually a decent replacement for the Nike Vapor 9 and 10. For people that don't really like the Nike Vapor Pro, which apparently there are a lot of you out there that don't like that shoe. And I think just because of the really plush uppers, a little more durable, they are really lightweight, they kind of can be that step up from the Nike Vapor 9 and 10 if you don't want to go to the Pro. Like I said, I just probably would throw an orthotic in these. I'll leave some of my favorite down in the description below. And I think if you're looking for a comparison from the Tour 4 to the Tour 5. The Tour 5 is just a little bit longer and leaner than the Tour 4. A little bit more performance-based. I know the Tour 4 was supposed to be a lightweight performance shoe, but the Tour 5 just does that a little bit better, cuts through the air a lot better than the Tour 4, and the uppers are just a little bit more malleable. So that was kind of my impression from the 4 to the 5. And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Tour 5. Are you looking to upgrade to them? Are you looking for something else? Let me know in the comments down below. And speaking of the Nike Vapor Pro, if you do want to take a deep dive into this model, make sure you click into this video up above and subscribe down below. Respect your rubber and foam. I'll see you in the next video.